Here's the big thing. I lost my mum when I was 17 to MS. Once you start building a monster like I've got, if you're not growing, your team are going to go. I was thinking in my head, if they're not growing, they're going, because they need to be challenged.
You spoke about as well the 6 most important people to employ in your business.
Yeah.
Could you talk about some of those and why it's important?
If you're not good at something, get other people to do it. And that's retraining your brain from how you're taught at school is, if you can't do it, you try again until you succeed. They're the 3 things that I think are the absolute KPI that you should be tracking. Average customer value, not it's just game changing when you start tracking that stuff. I remember we had a big fire at one of our sites in Cambridge. I just didn't care. But then if I find we've let down a customer because we've been lazy or done some stupid thing, that really, really grates on me. The problem is, for someone like me, is I will not give up.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Rich in Success podcast, the show that brings you motivation, inspiration, and education on how you can live a happier, healthier, more successful, and more fulfilling life. My name is Matt Hall, and today's guest is entrepreneur James Sinclair. James started his business as an entrepreneur when he was just 15 years old in the entertainment industry. And today, James operates a £12 million business, which includes leisure, childcare, outdoor attractions, a web-based soft toy business, as well as a coaching and training company. And today's episode is fantastic. Whether you're somebody that wants to start a business, whether you're somebody that wants to scale your business, or indeed if you're somebody that wants to absolutely skyrocket your business. Personally, I think this is the best episode we have ever done to give you real, actionable and tangible steps, strategy and advice to do just that. In the episode, we discuss things like how it feels for James, who has a payroll of around £600,000 per month. That's right, you heard me. Per month, he has £600,000 payroll, and how he deals with that, how he feels about that. We also talk about why and how you should focus on competing for experience in your business rather than just the price. We also talk about hiring, and he gives a strategy on how you can make sure you're in the best position to hire the best people possible. He also talks about some of the biggest mistakes he made and how to avoid them. Why you should focus on building your business always with the end in mind. And also he talks about managing your emotions as a CEO. This is a super powerful episode. Get your pen and paper at the ready, take some notes, and please enjoy episode 163, Build a Multi-Million Pound Business with entrepreneur James Sinclair. Just a quick one before we dive into the episode. I've got a gift for you as a podcast listener. I want to offer you a completely free 14-day trial into my membership. Now, when you join the membership, you get access to over 50 training videos that have been divided into 3 sections. Number 1 is working on your mindset and high performance. Number 2 is business and branding. And number 3 is health and fitness. And that's not all. In addition to working through the modules, you also get to join us for completely live coaching every single month in a group capacity. If you want to take advantage of this free offer now and join us for 14 days, hit the link in the bio and I'll see you there. Now, let's get back to the episode. Can we start the podcast there? You just said you're messy and unorganised.
I'm terribly unorganised, yeah.
Well, okay, so this is like you're the owner of multiple businesses. You've got a lot of staff. Talk to us about that, because I reckon listeners immediately are going to be like, what? Surely your life's all in perfect order?
Well, it's in perfect order because of people around me.
Got ya.
I've never, I'm quite forgetful. I lose lots of things. I don't like managing people. In fact, I quite detest managing people. However, I do think I'm quite good at leadership.
Yep. So leadership and management is very different.
Yeah. One of the big things that I talk about, I actually call the formula for success, E plus M equals S. So it's entrepreneurship plus management equals success. And through working with lots and lots of entrepreneurs over the years and helping them, people are constantly asking me for help. The 200 people that I've had on my podcast where I sort of coach them through, the better they are at management usually means that they suppress the size of the business. That's why I think you've got lots of super successful autistic, dyslexic, ADHD type people that don't conform to the standard, or that's a successful person because they're prim, proper and really on time and stuff. But especially dyslexic people, 35% of self-made millionaires in the UK are dyslexic. I mean, there is some stuff in this that they find ways of solving problems, and I think if you're super organised and you're super on it in terms of academic, you probably don't seek help from outside.
Got you.
And I think that's a good reason why those people become really successful, because they're given permission from such a young age to say, well, if you can't do that, just get help.
Got you. Yeah.
And then when I was starting out, I read Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson, and he sort of gave me permission in that book. If you're not good at something, get other people to do it. And that's retraining your brain from how you're taught at school is, if you can't do it, you try again until you succeed. And so that was probably, I was lucky that I picked up that book to go, oh, that's all right, if I'm not organised, get a PA. If I don't like doing accounts and bookkeeping, get an accountant, If I don't want to manage people, just get a manager. And so I've always focused on growing my business, not operating it.
You see, I think that's probably one of the main things people struggle with. They start a business out often because it comes from a place of passion, and it's not necessarily a great business idea a lot of the time, but they just start with passion, not necessarily learning business or going to business school or whatever. And then this idea of scaling it and having to pay a lot of money for other people to come in is often quite scary, because it's like, have I got the money to do that? What would be your advice in terms of, if someone's pretty new to business, when should they start to be in a position to think, right, now we need to employ somebody?
Well, this is just what I've done, is I've always paid other people first before me. So I started out as a kids entertainer, and I was very lucky that people liked me and booked me, and I was earning very decent money for a teenager. Between 16 and 18 years old, I was earning 1,500 quid a week, and that's close to 20 years ago now. That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
was that not standard?
I don't think there's not a lot of people now earn £1,500 a week.
What was different about you?
What I did.
Why was you earning that?
I think because I entertained the adults at the same time as the children. I was quite energetic and loud in the way that I did things. And because I entertained the whole family, people were booking me so far in advance. And then I built an entertainment agency up because I filled my diary. I had 10 entertainers working for me off of the back of my diary. And then I just employed a couple of secretaries to help me. And then I employed a manager. And I used the money to pay them and didn't pay myself, because I still got paid from being an entertainer.
Got you.
So the business. So when you employ people, you're building an investment. And that's a big thing. I always tell people, they come on my podcast, so you're happy to invest 25 grand in a buy-to-let that's going to make you 150, 250 pound a month. And after tax, you get practically zero now. But you wouldn't invest £25,000 into a salary to give you all your time back to grow your business rather than run it.
Because that's the important thing, right? Is time.
Yeah.
The more, and this is something I spoke to a fantastic guest recently, who is a high performance coach, called Jamil Qureshi, and I asked him, in order to be successful at a high level, do you need to there's this kind of Gary Vaynerchuk school of thought that a lot of people have, I think, misinterpreted, which is don't sleep when you're dead, hustle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do you need a level of sacrifice? Do you need that level of absolute obsession?
Oh, no. I sacrificed my youth to build my business. There is absolutely no question about it. I worked 7 days a week.
You can't get away from a level of that.
Yeah, and I did that pretty aggressively for 10 years. Now, I would work 7 days a week now out of choice, and I did then. But I have a family now, and I try and manage that. I mean, I would love to work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So
because you enjoy it.
Work obsessed. I am an absolute workaholic, and that's because I love what I do. I don't see it really as work. There are some things that stress me out. I mean, this week I've been cross because I'm just paying loads of bills. I paid HMRC 155 grand yesterday on various bits and bobs, and then $250,000 here and $500,000 out to build this new Rossi factory that we're building. So sometimes I do get, cash flow is probably the only thing that annoys me still. It is a relentless and it never leaves you. And if you are like me, wanting to constantly grow, you always need it.
Yeah. So going back to what Jamil said, he said that in order to be successful in business, you need to be creative, you need to be innovative, you need clarity, you need vision, you need focus. And if you're just working, you don't always have that. So I think it comes back to what you're saying there about, really having freedom of choice over your time, how you spend it. Yeah. Is essential for growing and scaling.
Yeah, absolutely. All those things are true, but I always say you start with the end in mind, and that's in any part of life. If you want to be successful in education, and you say I want to be a doctor, you will get through education a lot easier and clearer with clarity than someone that doesn't really know why they're going to university, for example, which is most people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You go and see someone, I want to be a vet, boom, 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 boom. Stage of, I want to be the Prime Minister, boom, 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 boom. They actually can map out their journey with clarity. So when it's stressful, they can say, well, this is actually really stressful getting through all this, but I'm going to be a doctor at the end of it. Yeah. I understand. Now, for me, I wanted to build a massive business that was a national brand. I wanted a big team that loved working with me, and I loved working with them, and by and large I feel I've achieved that. There is always kinks in the road, but I love the people I work with. I spend more time with the people I work with than anyone else in my life, and most people that is the case. They spend more time with their work colleagues than they do anyone else, and so it's really important that I like the people I work with.
You get that vibe as soon as you arrive here as well. You can tell it's...
I don't like these two, but everyone else.
Yeah, he's just looking to his PA there. But as soon as we come in, you can tell it's a good atmosphere. You can tell it's genuine as well.
Yeah.
Because
we do. Difference. We I all my senior team, I don't manage them on time. They come and go whenever they like. We're managing them on output, not input. I want them to be visible, but I literally don't know if they're going on holiday, if they've gone home 2 or 3 hours. I've never managed senior people like that. Now obviously we run a chain of day nurseries and zoos and attractions, and so that can't be for everyone, because if we've got to open the parks by 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, then that has to be managed. But my senior people, the people that take on the biggest stresses, I don't want to be managed like that in my life, so they're free to come and go as they please.
So obviously you said there you primarily started out as an entertainer. At what point did it become more about entrepreneurship than just being a performer, say?
Here's the big thing. I lost my mum when I was 17 to MS, and I was going pretty good by then, and I thought, oh my God, if you're self-employed and you work with your hands, and literally as a magician, that's what I was doing, I thought, if something happens to me, all my income stops. And I was earning good money, and I suppose at a young age I was hit in the face with the reality that it could be taken away from you. So very quickly then I learned that I cannot carry on swapping time for money. Now I was swapping money or time for good money, but I wasn't swapping my time for like Beyonce money. I wasn't getting paid 200 grand an hour. I was getting high hundreds, and I needed to change that. So that's when I decided I'd build a commercially profitable enterprise that works without me in it. Now, my business today would run temporarily without me in it. So if I went on holiday for a month, I'm pretty sure it'd be okay. Now, it wouldn't be as much as I'd love it to be. It wouldn't grow. It wouldn't go to the next level. But I could take some time out. I just choose not to because I want to carry on growing it and do fantastic things. And I'm always maintaining it and tinkering around with it. But I wanted to build a business that didn't need me day to day to operate it. So the whole aim for me is to become a shareholder of the business. So you're like I'm a shareholder, I'm a chairman. I don't want to be the person that runs all the different departments. And it takes time to achieve. This is not something that, is achieved within a year, 2 years. It's like starts at 10, 20 years. But that is the mindset that you have to build something that is truly like an investment. So you go through the 3 stages that I teach about. You've got solopreneur, entrepreneur, investorpreneur. And most people start this solopreneur. That's me, kids entertainer, magician. And then I started an agency and an event hire prop business and some family entertainment centres. I was then classic entrepreneur. I was managing it, operating it, running it. And then you wear all the hats. You're the head of accounts, marketing, operations, and slowly I'd give all those hats away. And then you want to aim to be that investorpreneur where you can stand back and say, this business is ready to sell. And someone will buy it as an investment. And that is when you've hit sort of peak performance, if you like.
Well, I've heard you say that before, that every business you start, you should be looking to sell it in terms of your mindset.
Even if you don't want to, yeah.
Even if you don't want to. And I think that's I'm interested for you to go deeper on that, because I know for a lot of people, as we said earlier, they get into business because it's their passion and they see it like their business is their baby. Why would they ever give it away?
And so do I. I love my business. And if I sold up, I would want to be in the sectors that I operate in. I love making ice cream. I love buying carousels and train rides and building dinosaur parks. So these are all the things that we do. I love our childcare business, making teddy bears and doing all the things that we do. That's the sector that I am passionate about, and I do love that. You couldn't shove me running a recruitment company. It's just not going to get me going, And so I like those sections. So if I sold up, I'd want to be in that space. So the passion gets me through the times when it is tough.
Yeah.
I like the space that I operate in. And I think that does make a difference. If you really love what you do, you will care about it more.
And presumably the idea of, or the concept that you say about looking for every business to run it like you want to sell it, is making sure that you would want to buy it, right? That it's profitable, that it's not that you've not just created a profitable job.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of the big things.
Which a lot of people, that's as far as they get, right?
Yeah. Well, and they could go further, but they're... Look, most people fail, right? We all know that. Most businesses fail. 50% go in the first 2 years and 80% are gone by, year 5, and 95% are gone by year 10. So only 5% make it past the 10-year anniversary. Yeah. So I care passionately about making sure that they are the right businesses that we're putting our time, effort and energy into to take them to the next level.
Yes.
But the problem is then they get to retirement, they go, what have I got here? I've got nothing to sell. Yeah. And lots of business owners are really bad about pension planning. Yeah. Other than the smart ones that are putting some profits into property, which I'm a big believer in. Mm-hmm. And so that can be a problem. So I don't want people to take on self-employment without thinking I need to build some security around
long
me.
Term. Yeah, I heard you say your payroll is around £600,000 a month.
Yep.
Now, I come here today, you seem one of the most chilled, calm guests that I've ever sat down with. But to many people, the concept of having that level of responsibility and pressure sounds really scary. How do you manage that pressure? Is it scary? Does it stress you out?
If you haven't got it, then it's very scary and very stressful.
Have you been in that position?
Oh, many times. Many times I have literally been on the last noggins of meeting payroll.
And what happens then? How do you deal with that? And how do you
find the
solution?
Entrepreneurs are a rare breed, and that's why we should be helping them more in this country. As it, government should be doing more for them, because what have I done? I've personally guaranteed, borrowed loans at stupidly high interest rates. So one of the things that I could have always done for me to make my life easier is wander up to London and get a venture capitalist to give me loads of money, and then I would hate my life on that part, but then I would never have any cash flow problems.
Yeah.
I am in a very fortunate position, but probably have been in very stressful situations that I own 100% of everything that I have. Whilst my team are very helpful within the decision-making process, and I don't run it like a dictatorship. I like to call it a democratic dictatorship, whilst my word is final, but they have autonomy over lots of what they do. But because of building a business to now where it's like a 20 million revenue business, and really we've done that since 2007 to now, and I think within another 24 months we'll probably be at 35-40 million of revenues. And to have that without any VC money and just bank funding can come with its own challenges. But I've been very careful now over the years to invest not just into the business but into commercial property, so that if there is another rainy day, if there is another coronavirus, I feel I have enough bricks and mortar assets around me that I would have to liquidate one of those, or not liquidate the property, I mean, sell it and put the cash into the business. So, and I've made sure that we have diverse business sources.
Yep. So when one's doing well,
correct,
you've got something else.
So like today, I'm like, oh God, I've had to close both of our outdoor attractions today during a half term. These are key trading days for us.
And just to be clear, that's because it's the windiest day ever.
Yeah.
We've travelled from Bradford to Essex, we can confirm.
So it's not safe to open. So that potentially could be 80,000 of revenue lost for us. Now, whilst it breaks my heart, 8 years ago I would have been even more stressed, 5 years ago even more stressed about it. But now, because our childcare business is much bigger than it was 5 years ago, that has much stronger residual income, our property rentals are much bigger. So I've worked really hard to insure myself against all the problems that my businesses may have. So Tracy, Tracy, how many years have you worked for me now? 4. Yeah, I mean, so when Trace first joined me, I think she would testify to this, or maybe you can ask her off camera. Like, my situation just 4 years ago was not the situation I'm in today.
Totally different.
Like, I would be begging and borrowing and trying to move money around, so it can, but that's because I'm an entrepreneur, and I overtrade like most entrepreneurs do. I'm pushing the boundaries all the time, but I know that I've got the ability to do it. And it's a weird thing. I like borrowing money, but I don't like borrowing money. So I'd borrow all the money in the world to buy freehold properties, but like cash flow stuff I want to do myself, So but hopefully that answers the question. But I suppose the calmness also comes from having a great team around you that you can back good ideas off of.
Has there ever been times where the pressure has got too much and it's affected you quite badly mentally, and you've really struggled?
Oh no, not like that. What do you think I have then, Trace? No, right. Well, there you go. Maybe I have. The problem is, for someone like me, is I will not give up, that's the hardest thing. So my favourite phrase talking about business owners is this. It's a Steve Jobs phrase. Most people give up because they're sane. And I think successful people have some insanity around them. They just won't give up. Why are you doing it? Like I was like, look, we just bought another day nursery. It completes next week. Is my personal lifestyle going to change because I've bought another day nursery? No, it's not. It doesn't mean I can go out for dinner another night of the week, or when I'm in Sainsbury's I'm thinking, should I go for taste difference, or like that's not going to change.
Your actual day-to-day life is the same.
I don't know why I'm doing it.
You don't? Have you asked that question?
Yeah, and I suppose I think a lot of people do that are in business. The only thing that I can put it down to is slight ego. Maybe that's part of it. Secondly, I was attracted to that particular nursery because it's another freehold property, so that gives us as a business even more security. Like after 5 years of paying down a commercial mortgage, you're paying down really aggressively commercial mortgages, you've so much asset. But thirdly, I do believe once you start building a monster like I've got, if you're not growing, your team are going to go. I see it in my head, if they're not growing, they're going, because they need to be challenged. So that's ultimately what I put it down to. Is
quick one. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this episode is when you sign up to the membership, you also get access to exclusive interviews with some of the best experts that have been on this podcast. Now, when you listen to this podcast, of course, you're going to hear the inspirational stories and journey that our guests have been on. But when you join the membership, they're going one step further. They are giving you tangible, actionable steps, hacks, and tips that you can take from their years of experience and implement into your own life today. To listen to those exclusive members-only interviews, start your 14-day free trial right now. Click the link in the bio. Now let's continue with the episode.
So that's ultimately what I put it down to, is someone with my brain, which as I'm getting older, I'm thinking, is it fortunate or unfortunate? I have to make sure that I am challenged.
I think what you're saying there to some degree as well is that you love the process.
Yeah, I think I do. I love
taking on the challenge.
I know.
And actually, this is what I've heard a lot of people say is success comes from not just purely being so outcome led. Because then it could be quite unsatisfying when you get there and you go, oh, is this it? It's about being process-led. I know the outcome. I know where I want to be, but I actually get satisfaction from the journey and from the process of the next challenge and the next challenge. And I think that's really important.
I get really satisfied about having great people around me as well. That's probably one of the... So when we bought Rossi, we inherited Leah, that lady over there. And I just love working with Leah, not just because you're here, Leah, but I mean, she's...
He'd say this if you weren't here, I'm sure.
She's I like working with Leah, and I think, this is probably the best thing so far out of buying Rossi is that we inherited Leah, and I can have a laugh and a joke with her, and she's an accountant. Very rare, isn't it, that?
Yeah.
And so that's good, and then our outs, we have a firm of accountants that, we got a new accountant last year called John, and I love working with him, that's another big tick to my life. I enjoy talking to him, and that's why I don't really want to sell, because if I sold, I'd lose like my work family who I actually enjoy being with. It's really weird, isn't it?
Do you ever think about, would your life benefit more if you had more time at home away from work? Or is it just that this family here, this purpose, this mission is so fulfilling that overall you feel in your way you've got great balance?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy how... Yeah, most of the time. Sometimes I get annoyed at home and sometimes I get annoyed at work. But overall, I like what I do. I love my children very, very much. And so, I love my family life on the whole as much as I love my work life.
On the whole.
Obviously, like if I have an expensive week where I'm just laying out tens of thousands, like my life is, £50,000 out a day. So I've got to make sure 51,000 at least comes in,
Wow.
But no one can ever understand that process of what that feels like until they've actually done it.
What does it feel like?
Business money is so different to personal money. So £10,000 personally is a lot of money still. You can do some fun stuff with that, and you can invest that and do whatever you like. But £10,000 is literally like having a fiver in my pocket in this business.
Okay.
It is unbelievable.
I saw that you've just recently set up a business in India. I watched your 2-part documentary.
Did you like it?
I loved it. Jimmy and I, my videographer, was laughing out loud whilst watching it. I'd love you to talk about that process, what that was like, what the differences are over there to over here.
So another thing that's dangerous about me, or the way I think not dangerous, is I'm Mr. Inhouse.
Yep.
I hate outsourcing things.
Okay.
And I don't know why businesses are so fond of outsourcing, other than the fact that they think, I ask people, how many staff you got? I've got 10. They find out they're all outsourcing. You haven't. If you're going to sell your business, I want to meet the team. That's the most valuable thing to me.
Is that because the culture, the relationships?
And if you want to have a holiday or have some time off, if it's all outsourced, you haven't got any value.
Yeah, got you.
And so I've always been passionate about doing everything in-house. I even print all my own signs in-house. You know, we do our accounts in-house. Everyone goes, oh, I outsource my payroll, I outsource this and outsource that. We don't. We make our own websites. We make our own videos. You know, everything I like to do in-house. And so one of our businesses is Teddytastic, and we supply holiday parks, zoos and attractions with plush teddy bears and toys and arts and crafts equipment. And it's a biggish business. It's growing quite rapidly. Give you an idea. Year 1, it was 250,000. Year 2, sort of 400. Year 3, 400. Year 4, sort of 500,000. Then coronavirus. This year, it's gone to 1.2 million revenue, as in 5 years. And this financial year, we're about to hit into April, it go to 3 million. And then I think within a few years, that'll be a 10 million pound business. That's from a startup from scratch. And we was making all the products in China, and I just said, look, we're getting to the volume, we need to try and source our own factory and do it all ourselves. And so I went to India because the freight's much cheaper than China, and I think that's here to stay. So,
and we've got to say, Manny is a legend from your video.
We
had so much fun. So make sure you check out James's YouTube just for that, at least, because he's a legend. And it just seemed like what we got watching it is very much what you said there, you know, about culture and relationships. That was so clear that they've got just such a the way you arrived when you was walking in. I mean, that just seemed surreal.
I think, you know, we all have our sort of skill sets. You know, some people are naturally good at numbers, some people can naturally draw, sing. You know, I think, you know, a weird, strange personality that if people like me, they're drawn to me straight away, and I will use my confidence to create a situation that's good. And I think that's, you know, won me some friends sometimes, and maybe lost. Some people don't like me. I don't really care if they don't like me, but the people that do like me, you know, have warmed to my weirdness.
Well, that's what you say, isn't it? It's about you don't just want to be liked by everyone. You want to either be loved by few, and if that brings hate, then that's better than just being generally liked.
I want to be a nice person. I try and do everything nice in my life. I like being fair and reasonable, even with the business, you know, and that's probably why I won't be, you know, ultra mega super wealthy. Some people are going to watch this and say, how can you say, because of what I've got, and I understand that, but you know, I don't want to be the most ruthless person in the world. I mean, I do everything for a profit, don't get me wrong, but I like to do it in a fair and reasonable way.
You've got a book, The Experience Business. This concept of, you've said about you want to focus on having an experience business versus more of kind of a price business. Could you just talk about what that actually means?
Yeah, so I wanted to write that book for SME business owners because most of the world competes on price. Amazon is a compete on price business, or supermarkets are compete on price. And that makes money if you can do scale. Now, the problem is with lots of SME businesses, they go into business and what they do is try and undercut the market to get traction. And that's what scale businesses have been doing for years. And I think that can be very stressful for an SME business. And really what you need to be doing is focusing on experience-based businesses, so you can build a 2-3 million pound revenue business, have 500,000 of profit, rather than being a 20 million, 30 million pound business and have 500,000 of profit, because you're competing with, like, haulage is a classic example. You know, that they're making 0.25% net profits on huge numbers, and something only, and that no one cares about how good you are, because if someone undercuts you, you're moving boxes from A to B, and customer service will pay a point, but ultimately, if someone whistles under your nose a good deal, you will think about it to try and move suppliers. And then there's other things, you know, big brands have done this, you know, the Gucci's and Nikes and stuff like that. They have got people to buy into a brand where it doesn't matter if they put the prices up 10-20%, they will pay it because, you know, they have affection to that brand. Now, SMEs can do this experience-based business, and you can see restaurants are a great way of doing this. You know, everyone knows a local great restaurant that has huge loyalty. They have expensive pricing, but people go there because they're the best. And we all know one in our towns and in our communities that have that. And so I've always tried to move our business more to experience-based led, so we're not so price competitive. And that takes time to build. You have to Yeah, and especially if you're going to be experience-based business, you might not get everyone come and try you straight away because oh, that's expensive. But eventually, if you stick at it, you will have such brand loyalty. You'll be off to the races.
Yeah, and as you call it, they become fans. They become real
Yeah.
advocates.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with a lady who's running a restaurant actually, and she was talking about price, and she mentioned, or I mentioned, Five Guys, and she's like, "But all I ever hear people say is how expensive it is for a burger." I said, but they kind of say it with pride, like it's a treat and they're proud they've been there, which is the same with, like you say, Gucci and things like that. They go, what, 300, 400 quid for a belt? But they wear it with pride, with honour.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important thing I got from sort of reading your book, is taking that extra time. Like you say, it's a longer journey to build that kind of brand.
When you don't compete on experience, you can do what I call give people customer cuddles. So our Father Christmas experience, we're 75 quid a head to come and see Father Christmas. That includes the adults, but we're doing surprises along the way. We give the parents a gift. We do much more than we say we're going to give, and that creates massive loyalty because they're surprised. If you're competing on price, you can do that, but then you'll go bust.
Yeah.
And that's what also happens. Lots of small businesses, they do this compete on experience stuff because they're owner managed. Like you got a little coffee shop, at a train station, and he knows everyone's name. And this is a classic experience. Oh, morning, Chloe. I've got your cup. Here's the special way you do it. Here, have a biscuit. Oh no, lovely. Don't worry about that. And I thought, wow, I love this bloke. Blah blah blah. Then he wants to go on a holiday for 2 weeks, and he tries to employ someone. And he's paying them minimum wage or just above. They ain't ever going to do it like him. And then he can never leave the business because he's not charging the right money to be able to afford someone else to deliver that level of experience. Now, this stuff takes time to build, absolute time to build, And so you have to make sure that you have that end in mind, that you're going to build that and never be tempted to do stupid discounts and know that you can have 3 or 4 years of hard graft till you build it up.
But stick to it. Stick to the plan.
Stick to it, yeah.
You spoke about as well the 6 most important people to employ in your business.
Yeah.
Could you talk about some of those and why it's important that you get the 6?
Yeah, one of them's a PA, so that you're not doing all the day-to-day stuff, and get rid of all that stuff so you can focus on the stuff that's impossible to do.
Would you say that's the first one to hire?
Yeah, I mean, I got someone to help me with admin and all of that stuff, because I just think it's so easy to get someone to do that than it is to get someone that can go and get £1 million worth of business in. So what I find lots of entrepreneurs do is they get rid of the sales and marketing so that they can focus on the operations. And I'm like, no. Get rid of all of that stuff so you can focus on getting customers. Yeah, it's really important. It's getting sales in the business that will make you not the statistic that most fail within 2 years. They're really important that that you're not that statistic. So the more time you can spend on sales and marketing, getting customers and working out what the market wants, tweaking your product, is really important. You're going to need a promotions person. That's really important. That's doing. So you're coming up with the marketing plan, but you want someone to create the videos, edit the videos, and doing all that stuff. You also want to make sure that you've got eventually a great manager that's around you, that's managing the day to day. They're operating the business so that you can go and grow the business. And then you're going to need a great bookkeeper, a finance person. So this won't be an accountant at this stage. This will be a bookkeeper doing the day-to-day. You do not want to be doing VAT returns, payroll, but I believe you should have that in-house so that they're slowly training you to understand how to read a profit and loss. Now, when people outsource this stuff and they're just presented a P&L, I go, I produce a P&L, but they don't understand.
No idea what's actually happening.
And so I learn all of that stuff from having bookkeepers. I learned more from bookkeepers than accountants. So I always tell people you should be in a position where you're telling your accountant how profitable you are, and your accountant tells you how they're going to manage the tax situation, rather than paying an accountant to be a bookkeeper, which is what most people do. They're paying accountants hundreds of pounds an hour, and then the accountant just finds a bookkeeper, and then you don't learn the stuff for day to day.
And you don't really know what your profit is until they tell you.
At
the end of the year.
So you must produce a monthly profit and loss. There's 3 KPIs that I always talk about: tracking your average customer value, make sure you're producing a monthly profit and loss, and then your labour to turnover ratio. They're the 3 things that I think are the absolute KPI that you should be tracking. Average customer value, not it's just game changing when you start tracking that stuff. Because if you can increase your average customer value by 5, 10, 20%, that big chunk of that will fall to the bottom line.
And just to be clear on that, average customer value, so you're looking at
or average transactional value. So if you're an accountant, you're turning £1 million and you've got 10 clients, your average customer value is 100 grand. How can we make that 100 grand 110? Now that accountant will have a bit more time to pay out for that extra 10,000, but a big chunk of that drops to the bottom line because they haven't got to pay for marketing to acquire a new customer, etc., etc. Now the ACV thing I break down into 3 levels: average customer value, average transactional value, average lifetime value. Because if you can work out the life of your customer, then you can work out how much you can pay to get a customer. That gets really exciting.
That's again the end in mind kind of vision, isn't it? Yeah, it might cost you a lot of money to get them, but you know that then they come back year on year, and this is how much they're worth.
If you've got a lifetime value of a customer, like I'm thinking about a Rossi customer that we've got that spends about 15 grand a month with us, and they have done for 10 years. So say they're worth 150 grand over 10 years, they're worth 1.5 million pounds. Can you afford to spend £10,000 to get that customer? Absolutely. You should. And once people start thinking like that,
yeah, game changer.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you learnt from? Because I think a lot.
Oh my God,
that's the most important.
Right, here we go. That's choosing businesses with low margin.
Okay.
So this comes back down to this cost fee experience stuff. You choose businesses with low margin. You're trying to compete with Amazon. You cannot do it unless you've got big pockets. So choose businesses with super high gross profit, as high as gross profit as you can get. That's really, really important. Next, never choose businesses that start from zero. Now, whilst start from zero businesses can be profitable, like selling cars, building houses and selling cars, every month you start from zero, and that can be very, very stressful. That can give you sleepless nights unless you've got huge pipeline. So if you are in one of those businesses, it's important that you attach another revenue stream that allows you to not start from zero each month. So if you are a house builder, then you need to have a regular maintenance business as well, so that you're doing maintenance for offices and secondary schools and councils. So you've got regular cash flow as well as when them creamy big sales come off. So if you're selling cars, make sure you've got an MOT station and a service garage next door, so that you've got regular cash flow. That is one of the biggest things I probably have learned, and I've worked really hard to make sure that my business doesn't start from zero. And I'm more aligned to businesses that have residual income. People want to say, "Oh, just sell your properties, you make sales." Oh, no, I like rent. I like seeing that come in each month and disappear as it goes off into the abyss. But I really, really love residual income. So make sure you're choosing a business where it's easy to find management, that you don't need loads of capex to keep on growing it. You look at Marsh Farm, this place you just walked in, the capex never stops. But I build a day nursery, then it's just steady maintenance. But my day nurseries fill up because they're on a place like Marsh Farm. So I'm trying to create an ecosystem where you've got not cash disappearing every month into capex. Oh, one other massive one. Don't choose businesses that are too low barrier to entry. That's a massive one. Why I love childcare. It's got Ofsted there. People, I don't want to do that. It's got Ofsted, isn't it? I love that. Yeah, that's right. Don't do it, because I love regulated businesses now, because it protects you. That's venture capitalists and other institutional money want to buy regulated businesses because they know they're easy to value. Regulated businesses are also really easy to finance. Banks love lending to care businesses, solicitors and accountants. You're an accountant and you go to a bank, say, I want to borrow some money. Like the bank's just ready to lend because you're an accountant, because it's regulated. They know that it's always going to be there. Dentists, banks love lending to dentists, regulated business.
One of my biggest mistakes is hiring. I've had this where my gut instinct was, I think this person's going to be great.
Well, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to hire, you need to use my process called the 4 interview process. So you do a group interview, get all the candidates together. You stand up the front, this is my vision for the business and this is what I expect from my team. You're going through a deselection process, not a selection process, for them, the candidate, and for you. Group interview 1. Then interview 2 is 1-to-1. So So you lead the questions, but you have someone sitting next to you. Group 3 interview 3, they're asking the questions, but you say nothing and you just listen. And then you might have changed your mind. You were sure on them on interview 1, but then now someone else is asking the questions. You're not sure about that person. Interview 4, they do a presentation to you on what they're going to do for the business. So in effect, they're setting their own KPIs, and you're like, yeah, I'll buy into this story, or I don't. And sometimes for SME businesses, maybe they're not paying just quite enough to get the right people. But also, we sometimes overpay people and they've been an absolute crock of shite, and someone on way less money is better. So, but there's another couple of things that I always tell people: employ happy and hardworking people, and never be flirted by an amazing skill set. So always choose attitude over skill set. I've made that mistake 3 or 4 times. I like, look at the CV. This person on paper should change everything for us, but their skill set, flirted me. I was in love with the skill set, and I forgot the golden rule that attitude trumps skill set every time.
Because the wrong attitude can then it's like a cancer within the business.
I mean, say you've got a restaurant and you need a chef. Some bloke go, oh mate, I work really hard, I'll do everything for you, but he's never run a kitchen before. You actually need to find someone with a skill set to train people the way you need. So you need, or an accountant, or a solicitor, or an architect. You can't just get an architect that doesn't know what they're doing. They've got to absolutely have some skill set. Yep. But maybe there's 3 or 4 in the interview, and one's not as qualified, but they are qualified, but not as good as the other 3, but absolutely has the right attitude. That probably is the better option.
So in other words, it's a given they need to have a good level of skill.
For those jobs.
Yeah.
For those jobs. Yeah. For those, accountants, solicitors, legal, architects, absolutely. But, people always go sometimes on the most highly qualified person.
Yeah.
That's got the worst attitude.
I'm interested in, have you, a big thing that this podcast touches upon is general personal development mindset. Is that something you've been interested in over the years to help you be a better entrepreneur, manager, leader?
Yeah, I think you've got to be a positive person to run a big business or grow something from nothing, because you will be faced with so much adversity. You're going to get let down by people. No one's going to work in their mind as hard as you. You're going to get loads of hard-working people, but the mind problems that you have when growing something, especially in a business like mine that's highly capital intensive, it's hundreds of thousands of pounds of investment all the time that never stops. So yeah, I've got to work out what, I like to be on my own. Actually, that's how I sort my problems out. If I've got problems, I get a notebook. I take a notebook everywhere with me, really, and I write things down, or just sit on my own for a couple of hours. That's how I clear my brain to work out how I'm going to solve things.
What comes out of that? Is that usually just practical solutions, or is it how you're feeling, just to get that out of your head?
Yeah, look, I know, and I talk about this thing called bounceability. I done a TED talk on this, on bounceability. I know that most problems are solved within 2 weeks. So I try not to let myself get stressed out for 2 weeks. Now, I will have a bad day, maybe a bad 2 days, but I usually come back after 2 days and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to take this on.
So it's that broader perspective and awareness.
Yeah, well, I get wound up about things that are minute. I just think, why have we allowed that to happen?
Yeah.
So I remember we had a big fire at one of our sites in Cambridge. I just didn't care. Everyone said, why are you not really stressed out about this? Well, I can't do anything about it. It's not anyone's fault. We got broken into, and these 4P drug dealers set up 4 separate fires, whatever they did. I was flying out to China to do Teddy-tastic stuff the next day. I sort of was really relaxed about it. But then if I find we've let down a customer because we've been lazy or done some stupid thing, that really, really grates on me. And I'll get more angry about that than the big disaster.
Because you can control that, right?
I just get so cross when we do something, or if we haven't got back to a customer.
Yeah.
Something like that really annoys me. Or if uniforms don't look good, or our parks look messy and we could have solved it. Those things drive me absolutely doolally.
It's funny. That just made me think. I don't know if it's just a common trait of people that like to do well, but I had an experience, I remember talking about it, where I was in a car crash and it was the calmest I've ever been.
Yeah.
I was driving as well, so it was my fault, I guess, but you just a level of, right, we've got to focus on solutions. We've just got to get through it. There's nothing we can do other than focus on getting through it. But the smallest thing, like I stubbed my toe, like everybody knows it. It stresses me out. And I think it's an important trait to have if you're going to be in a position like you, where you've got such responsibility. You've got to have calmness in the storm, and you've got to have that ability to weather the storm and lead by example. Because if you're stressed and if you're, struggling, then there's the ripple effect of how that affects everybody else.
Our moods are infectious, I'm conscious of that. I mean, that sometimes, I think I sit in a communal office, I've got my PAs opposite me, my videographers next to me, and Leah's. I know a lot of business owners have their own office, and I think sometimes you just want to be on your own to deal with something. So if I have got the ump, I'm consciously aware that could spread.
Yeah, so it's important, again, self-awareness. James, thank you so much. There's so much value in this episode. I know there'll be just light bulb moments all the way through it. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, your experience, for sharing a few hacks. Just before we finish, because we're going to do an exclusive members interview with James. He's very kindly agreed to do that. So I'm conscious of the time. But before we do finish, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on right now. How can people follow you? What events have you got coming up?
Well, so there's three things. Number one, my podcast, the business broadcast, where I just do business owners, entrepreneurs call in. They've got challenges about growing their business, and they put those challenges to me, and I solve them. So you can get that on all the good podcast platforms.
And it's bloody brilliant as well. I love that concept that it's kind of like just live coaching.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, okay. So
all they tell me is they've got 3 challenges, and I never pre-read them. I do it as soon as it comes in.
Just live, yeah.
So we've upped our audio quality now, because on some of the earlier ones I was good. I sounded great, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So we've managed to work out a way of getting them on better audio now. So it's good. It's like a phone-in show, like you would listen to a phone-in radio station. So I love doing that. Second thing is my YouTube channel. But both of these things are free as well, which just gets better and better. So the James Sinclair YouTube channel, we've made nearly 600 videos to help people grow their business now, and they're very day-in-the-life documentary style. Yeah. But there's also some good how-to videos in business as well. And then the third thing is I'm running a seminar, which I'm going to do every year now, called the Business Masterclass. Tickets are only a few £100. It's 2 days in London, where I teach people about property investment, buying companies. I bought a lot of companies with hardly any money, and I know how to do that in quite strategic ways. I've built big teams. I've got 1,000 staff now. So, people are, how do you do that? Well, I like teaching people some of that stuff. So it's 2 great days in London. You can get your tickets at jamessinclairbmc.net.
And what I really love about what are seemingly complex things that you've achieved, that you just break it down into really simplistic forms.
Because I'm simple, mate. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah.
Brilliant. James, just before we finish, the final question that I like to ask my guests is, what is your definition of success?
Oh, that's love the people you work with. I think that's a really, really important thing. So if you love the people that are around you and you enjoy the people you work with, you really have cracked it. And I think not a lot of people are in that situation. I think they go because they need to earn money and they just don't enjoy what they do. So that's in terms of success. And then making sure your family like you and your children like you. Yeah, those sorts of things. I think that's really... I suppose if I could put a caveat to that, is not having to live your life by looking at a watch. When I started out as an entertainer, my life was so managed heavily by a diary. I couldn't change anything. Where now it's, I try and keep my diary strict. But if I wanted to have a day off, I could change everything. I mean, I never do it, but I like the feeling of that I can.
That's powerful. I'm not even going to say, that was brilliant. Thank you so much.
That's right, hey.
Now, if you want to receive some proper coaching from James Sinclair, if you want him to take you through some actionable, tangible steps and strategy to genuinely scale your business, I've got to say that the exclusive members interview that James did with us is absolutely golden. Here's a little preview of what he said.
If I'd have employed a qualified accountant when I was 23, 24, I would have sold a house ready to have done that. They could have helped me raise the finance, and I probably would have built my business to 3 or 4 times what it is now.
Really?
People are like, well, James, this must be lies. It's not lies. You can come in with your chunky arms and sort it out.
Calling me fat?
Make sure it folds into existing empire. That's really important. Don't own a fish and chip shop and then go and buy, I don't know, a dentist practice. No. You want to own a fish and chip shop and buy another fish and chip shop. That's a little secret sauce.
That's the key. Now, if you want access to hear that interview in full for free, remember to join my membership right now. We're offering a 14-day free trial. All you've got to do is click the link in the bio. That will give you immediate access to keep on listening to James's advice, and it's completely free. But if you want to stay a member with us, it is just £29 per month as a recurring subscription every single month that you can cancel at any time. And actually, one thing that I've not mentioned about the membership that I personally think is one of the most valuable things about it is the other members in there. You get access to a community of people that are building great businesses. We've got authors in there, really cool people that even I have found I've learned great things from being around them. Remember that thought leader Jim Rohn said, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think that is why our membership is one of the best, one of the quickest growing, and one of the most results-based memberships you can join today. As I say, come and find out for yourself. 14-day free trial. Click the link. I'll see you in there. And I will also see you next week on the next episode of Rich in Success as the journey of self-discovery and personal growth continues. I'll see you then.